All right. So Jim, first off, thank you so much for joining us today for the CSAT chat. I think this is super exciting, and I know, there's going to be some lessons learned today for, what we're doing here, and as it relates to online training and what Pickup's doing today. But anyway, that being said, we'll just jump right into the questions. We'll keep this pretty informal today. So Jim, just please, just introduce yourself. Tell everyone a bit about your role at Pickup and what Pickup's about.
Yes, thanks, Richard. My name is James Austin, or Jim, everybody calls me. I'm currently the Field Training and Special Operations Manager here at Pickup. And just like the first part of the name goes, training, I work with the team in creating field training program certifications, best practices, SOPs, just for our delivery professionals out in the field. And the second part of the name, Special Operations, I really work with the partner development team, developing firsthand accounts of the processes that are going to affect our delivery pros. And so I start to get involved early and then turn those around into certifications and SOPs.
Got it. And just so, since we have folks on the line that may not be familiar with who Pickup is and what you guys are doing today, what is Pickup exactly?
Well, Pickup specializes in the instant or deliveries of big and heavy items around partners. We have a lot of partners that we work with, and they have furniture items, large, big and heavy items. We have commercial contractors like HVAC. So we work with them to get the large items to their customers in the last mile setup.
Got it. And just out of curiosity, so who are some of the partners that you may work with? Because I know it's not just HVAC.
No. It's not just HVAC. So we are currently working with partners like Bye Bye Baby, Home Goods, and then HomeSense. We also have other partners on the HVAC side, as well as the paint for commercial. But traditionally, it's large corporations that have big and heavy items that they sell, furniture.
Got it. And can you just tell me a little bit more about your respective background and how that relates to online training?
Yes, I started doing a lot of training once I entered the military. So a few years ago, when I entered the military, I noticed the ability for SOPs. They had a lot of standard operating procedures and practices, and I found that was very encouraging to me, because I was able to go to those resources, educate myself to become a better soldier and sailor. And then I, in turn, took those tools that I learned and helped educate some of my teammates and encourage them and mentor them. And then when I entered the civilian world, the same thing kind of applied. I started working with companies and noticed that they had some ideas, they had some principles, never had anything documented. So it was really hard to motivate their employees. So we started to create those procedures. After starting with Pickup, Pickup is a gig space environment with the independent contractors doing the deliveries for us. And there's 1,000 different ways and 1,000 different individuals inside that gig space. And so we had to decide on a way to kind of bring all that information together. And so that's kind of where we landed here with Northpass, and we kind of continue that training moving forward. So,
well, on behalf of the Northpass team, thank you for choosing Northpass. We're certainly very appreciative of that. And then additionally, thank you for your service. Certainly I speak on behalf of the team when I say we're definitely appreciative of definitely your work and, definitely, being part of the services. So thank you for that. But how would you say like why essentially is field training such an important function at Pickup?
Well, for field training for Pickup, it's extremely important on the aspect that our delivery professional is the kind of the face of the company, right? Our company interacts with the customer, but the personal contact, the personal relationship comes with our delivery professionals. So, you know, we have to have a consistent pattern of behavior and process involved, right? And that creates that consistency. I kind of relate it a lot to McDonald's as a franchise. You know, when McDonald's started selling hamburgers and they wanted to mass produce those, right, and sell across the country, they realized that they needed a system or a way to make that consistency of the process and the brand. And so that's what Pickup has had to do as we've moved away from our core metroplex of the Texas markets, and we expanded across the country. So we've had to kind of create that learning experience for it. So that's where Pickup has really evolved.
Got it. Okay. So that makes total sense, especially when you're trying to deliver that same excellent customer experience across the board. Definitely super difficult, especially if you're you know, a franchise model like McDonald's, or if you're frankly just trying to make sure that everybody has a similar experience while they leverage the Pickup app or Pickup service.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That being said, can you just give me a little bit of color, a little bit more explanation as to the role of Pickup's delivery professionals? I mean, obviously, yes, they're delivering goods, but how do they exactly fit into Pickup?
All right. So our Pickup professionals, delivery professionals, they're really great, outstanding individuals. We hire a lot of military veterans like myself, first responders. We look for individuals that are really engaged in their communities, right? And it's really identified in their, probably kind of in their roles. I guess I really would come back and say, and I apologize if this sounds a little broken up here, because it really means a lot to me when I say this. Our team is one that, you know, everybody knows a family member, right, or has a friend that they can depend on. They can call at any time, right? And when they call that individual, they say, hey, I need some help. I need help moving an item, or I need help putting up a gazebo. And this person will drop everything. They'll come over. They'll give you a hand. They're happy to do it. They'll even look at the neighbor and say, you know what? The neighbor's struggling there. Let me go over there and rake the lawn for my neighbor, right? They are there to please and to help, right? Those are the individuals that we try to attract. And those are the individuals that deliver on that customer experience of Pickup.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So, okay. So let's just switch gears a little bit here. So we've kind of covered the bases with you, your background, Pickup, the role of delivery professionals and how they all fit in here. But let's just switch gears a little bit. So you've been working with Northpass for about 2 years, right, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. So just thinking back, let's just rewind the clock a little bit. Let's just think back to when you actually engaged and started this partnership. What were the reasons that Pickup decided to launch a learning program or an online training program?
Well, Pickup was in the process of trying to figure out how we get all of the knowledge that lived tribally in our heads and with our teams from one market to another into a collaborative environment, right? One shared resource. And so we started to look at Northpass and others to try to bring that information together, right? And what's happened with the evolution with Northpass is we've been able to start documenting that information. we started sharing that information, and then we started to make it a little bit better, right? And we've continued to improve and continue to work for further improvement, but it's allowed us to do it at a grander, more national scale via an online tool and a resource that can be integrated into multiple platforms.
Right, right. And I think kind of what you're getting at is taking everything and extracting it from one person's head, putting it into an always on hub or in the product, for example, to actually make learning a bit more accessible, right? And kind of, once again,
exactly,
coming back to the thinking of having kind of delivering an amazing customer experience or making sure that customer satisfaction is being met, right? It's kind of like, let's marry it all back into one place so that everybody gets the same experience. So that, you know, if you were to go to McDonald's, everybody gets the same burger, right? You know, you can go to a variety of locations. It's going to be the same. You're getting that consistency. So that all makes sense.
Yeah, you've hit it right on the head there, Richard.
You know, I'm just trying to add a little bit of color. But here's another thing. So just some housekeeping for everybody on the line today. I actually had our first question just come on in. So just remember, everybody, use the Q&A function down below. And, you know, after we get done with the session, we'll be able to address any questions that you may have today. So please use the Q&A function down below. But okay, so just continuing on where we were, Jim. So can you just tell me a little bit why customer satisfaction, or CSAT, is so important to pick up? I mean, I think we've kind of touched on it, but I think maybe there could be just a bit more.
Yes. So CSAT is very important to us in the idea that if we provide a good customer service experience on the end, right, that means that the customer in the relationship with their partner, who is also our partner, right, is emboldened, right? They are encouraged to place another order, and they're happy to place that other order. They want it, right? Because when somebody finds a service or an experience that is gratifying, you tend to gravitate back towards it, right? And so when we are developing these SOPs and these best practices and these certification courses, we are trying to get our team in the mindset that your service, your decisions throughout the process will have a great effect on the end user. So.
Got it. And, you know, I think just out of curiosity, so when you think about CSAT, how exactly are you kind of measuring that? Just kind of, you know, CSAT, a lot of people talk about it, it's, you know, but it's like, how do you actually kind of get a little bit of a barometer like that?
Yeah, our CSAT measurements are really directed off of our NPS scores. And we as a company try to average 75%, 74%, kind of in that range, when the national average for a delivery service like ours is between 30 and 40%, right? And so we're trying to set ourselves apart by providing that consistent, organized, and professional delivery service that everybody can depend on.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, certainly if the average is somewhere in that 30 to 40 ballpark and you're in that 75, you know, nether region up there, it's a world difference, certainly, that's for sure. But let's actually just talk a little bit more about Pickup's training program, Jim. So just, can you just give me a little bit of color about, you know, for example, how many courses there are, you know, how many learners you've onboarded, just give everybody a little bit of an idea of the scale and the breadth of what Pickup's up to today.
Okay. So, in comparison, right, I would have to say that, you know, we might not have the most extensive learning environment, but we do have a variety of learning environments. So we have the certifications. We have approximately 14 certification programs, and that is for partner-specific quality training that they're requiring of our delivery professionals, right? And then we have approximately 14 best practices and partner-specific SOPs. So our pickup best practices are our core metrics for the company. On every delivery, we want to ensure that the customer is getting a great experience, and it starts with the inspection of the items. So we start with the inspection of items, and then we move into the ability for the wrapping, the securing, and the protection of the items through transport. And then the inspection of the home or the drop-off location once we get to the destination before we bring the items in. Those types of steps that we have in the pickup best practices ensure the detail and the limiting of damage to homes and items, and creates a good customer experience. The next level is the partner-specific SOPs, and that is where there are specific requests from a partner based on entry or based on a particular customer that they have and the graphics of that customer. So with some of our customers, they want us to carry their brand along with them, right? And so that's where the partner-specific SOP comes in part, because we contact, we research their partners, their managers, the company itself, and we say, what are your core values, right? What do you want, and what do you expect, and what does your customer expect from you? And then we try to emulate that through our certification and our SOPs. And we do that with a variety of, video, digital, just a very large variety, because not every individual learns the same. So that's kind of where our program is. So it's not super large, but it's continuing to grow. So as we add new partners and there's more requests, I think currently we have about 6 new programs kind of in the works that are going to add to that number.
Got it. Yeah, and that's definitely cool to hear, Jim, because I think, for example, when I think of gig-focused companies, I'm just thinking they're trying to protect their brand, but it's in your situation with Pickup, it's not just protecting the Pickup brand, it's also protecting, frankly, the brand of your partners, right? So definitely cool to hear, and definitely interesting from my perspective. But also, how many learners have you onboarded? Just to give everybody, once again, a little bit of an idea of the scale.
Yeah. So I was just looking at the numbers again, and it looks like we've onboarded just over 5,000 learners into the program. We have about 4,200 that are active, but then on a monthly basis, we can have anywhere from 300 to 600 of them actively engaged and learning through the environments, or going back to those pickup best practices and SOPs. So it's not a one-time, I come and look and then I'm gone. It's we're bringing it in and they're coming back to self-serve and self-learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. All right, so we're just going to keep on rolling here. So can you just tell me a little bit about how standard operating procedures are helping influence delivery professionals in their day-to-day roles?
Well, like I think I mentioned a little bit earlier, with the process of the pickup best practices, we're encouraging them to follow certain steps and procedures. So when we're talking to them about the documenting of the inspection process, that's actually increasing their abilities, right? And helping them in their experience, because as they go through those steps, if the customer at the end has a damage-free experience and is very happy, the customer or the partner is also going to have a very good experience, and the delivery professional is going to have a very good experience. So everybody at the end can smile and can laugh and can just be enjoyed, right? When you start the processes off slowly, or you miss a step or two and something happens to an item, the first thing that's going to happen when they come to your home, you're going to be upset, right? And then it just starts to roll everything in a negative method. So the idea is to create a positive and influenced decision from the very beginning. So when you're walking through the door, they're seeing those items wrapped, they're seeing the items protected. You know, they're happy. They're like, wow, this person really took great care of our merchandise and our items. And, you know, I'm ecstatic, you know. I'm sure we've all had very bad experiences, you know, in one fashion or another. And you just look back and go, man, if they would have just done this, I wouldn't have been upset.
I'm living proof of that. I actually just moved into a new home, and you know, we had a bunch of new furniture delivered, and frankly, wasn't leveraging pickup. And what do you know? We had a couple pieces that wound up damaged, and we're going through the whole process of getting it replaced. Not fun. So definitely reassuring to hear that this is how you're approaching it and how pickup's approaching it, to kind of deliver better customer experiences firsthand. So this is all good. This is all great news, frankly. But you know, okay, so just continuing down this path. So how do your standard operating procedures, or SOPs, how are they helping your boots on the ground deliver that experience that truly exceeds customer expectations? I mean, you mentioned that one example of making sure that things are wrapped and stuff like that, but can you just give us a little bit more information there?
Oh, yes, and I think that comes with the damage claims, right, and the damage issues. So in any particular environment, right, we do our best to limit issues and problems, right? But because we're utilizing those inspection processes, we can identify things early on, even at the retail locations, right? So we can identify those scratches, those things that the customer may not have witnessed themselves due to lighting or something on the showroom floor, and we can point it out, right? We can talk to the manager, we can talk to the customer, we can come to a resolution before we even leave the store, right? Those processes, by the time we get to the destination, we're dropping the items off, already discussed. Everybody's happy with what's happening in the process. They're not shocked by the experience. On the other end, if a damage claim does happen, which we try to minimize, and I can just say our company is very proud of the fact that we really try to keep less than a 1% damage claim process. There are certain things that just can't be helped, right? There is Mother Nature. There are a lot of things that happen out there. And today in Dallas, where I'm sitting right now, they're experiencing an ice storm, right? So if there was a delivery in the process when the ice storm started, right, there's a possibility somebody could slip and fall, right? It's not something that you want. It's not something you encourage. It happens, right? Life happens. And so sometimes those experiences do. But in our processes, in our SOPs, we talk about how to handle that. So our delivery professionals can be competent in understanding how to help the customer through it. So not just leaving it to the customer, but aiding them, guiding them, and assisting them through the process. And that can turn around an experience too. I mean, I've unfortunately had to witness that myself in a delivery experience where it's happened on my case and in my situation, and I was able to guide the experience, turn the customer experience around as well. Customer very upset. By the end, they're very happy. They're letting the partner know, hey, great experience overall, even though the item has been damaged.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thank you for all of that.
Sorry.
That was wonderful.
A lot of information.
That's good. That's why people are here today, you know? So let's just move a little bit into a different direction. So Jim, from your perspective, what's been more crucial for your learning initiative? Has it been having an effective onboarding process, or has it been more so the continuing education?
I'm glad you asked that question, because I honestly do not want to see either one as better than the other. And because truly our onboarding experience, the reason why we use Northpass in our onboarding experiences is we get a lot of applicants because it is kind of that gig space environment, right? So they're coming in. Some of them don't even do any research on the company. They don't look at the listing. They don't know what the minimum requirements are. but they apply anyways, right? And so in order to help educate them, we utilize Northpass and its resources and tools to educate them on our company while they're going through the onboarding experience. So by the time they finish the onboarding experience, they understand fully what's expected of them. They understand what's going to be out there, and then how do we proceed from there, right? And then once we get them into the end, after they're onboarded and we get into the continuing education, that's where the pickup best practices, the certifications really come into play to make them better, right? To help them improve, to help them self-serve and educate themselves to become that, excellent delivery professional that everyone really strives for. Because I truly believe there's not one individual out there that wants to do mediocre work, but it's just they don't know how sometimes to get there. And so the continuing education allows them to self-service that education and bring them to that point where they're doing exceptional work.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. And I think you really underscore a really great point there, that people don't necessarily want to do mediocre work, but sometimes it might be they may not have been either onboarded, or maybe they may have had some difficulties with maybe getting started, and they might just need that little bit of encouragement or that kind of extra touch to kind of get them to where they need to be. So that's where continuing education
absolutely
comes into place. But that being said, just tell me a little bit more about Pickup's continuing education initiative. And like, for example, like what are the goals of continuing education for your team?
Well, our continuing education right now, because we are, 2 years into this program, right? So to me, that's young, right? That's not a really old program.
That's a healthy perspective. A lot of people think it's like, it's going to happen immediately. It's like, no, hold on. This is a multi-year initiative. This is not something that happens overnight. It takes time.
No, absolutely not. Because like I said, the hardest part is getting it out of your head, right? So you got to get it somewhere, put it somewhere, and then to develop it. But our initiative is driven right now by our partners, right? Our new partners and our development in new technologies. So as we develop new technologies, as we bring on new partners, we continue to grow our courses, our certification courses, our pickup best practices, and our partner-specific SOPs. In the interim, when we are not developing new content, we're trying to go back and look at what's there, and do we need to do a refresh? Do we need to add more content? Are we experiencing something in the field? Are we getting feedback from the team that something needs to change? And if we do, we need to make that adjustment. And so we start to add additional content and color to it. So, our program is evolving, and to say that there's a set strategy to make it happen, I can't say that, because it is an evolving process right now. But it does require, hindsight. We have to go back. We have to readjust.
Got it. Okay, so let's just kind of work our way back to customer satisfaction here. So I know with Pickup, you measure CSAT really with NPS. Is there any reason why NPS was the keystone that you guys wanted to pick for measuring?
I might be the wrong person to answer that question for you. And I say that, kind of with a little bit of a laugh here too, because, my military days, it was like, hey, Jim, we need to hit, a 75% or better NPS score, right? Go get your team to that 75% or better, right? So I was driven by that. It is a metric that our partner team and our company chooses to use. It is not something that, coming from me, from the field side, it was all about the execution, right? And so all I knew at the end of the day was get that 75%, right? Get that NPS score where it needed to be. And then our company will take that metric and make it work for us and our partners. And from what I understand, a metric that at that level allows our partners a lot more satisfaction and understanding that they're working with a quality service, right? That we're a service that can be co-branded with them. We can work with them, and we will deliver upon it. So I'm learning that whole step and that whole process. What does NPS really mean? For me in the field, for my delivery professionals, it means we've created great customer experiences on our end, and we followed through it, right? And the company at the end will make those things work. So unfortunately, what NPS is and driving that part of it home, I wish I could be more specific, but unfortunately, I cannot.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I think clearly what you're doing is working. I mean, to have an NPS score north of 70 when the industry average is in that 30 to 40 ballpark, certainly something to write home about, and certainly something to be proud of. So I like to think Northpass and online training has been a big part of that, but only you can tell me that. Let's just keep it moving.
I agree.
So, okay, so one question I was just thinking of is, are your delivery professionals actually measured on their contribution to CSAT? Is there an opportunity to improve their score? Is that where continuing education comes into play? I mean, can you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so at this point in time, they're not connected to the CSAT, right? CSAT score or the NPS score. Unfortunately, we haven't got there yet, but it is something that we're talking about. It's something that we want to deliver to our team, but it's not something that we currently have. However, the continuing education program is tied to their ability to earn big dollars. And I say earn big, and that means earn big dollars, right? Because the delivery professional, gig employee, right? They really want, they're really thinking dollars, right? And when I mean that by that is that if they take the certification courses that the partners have wanted, right, of their delivery professional teams that service them, if they follow those partner-specific SOPs and to pick up best practices, right, there are going to be more opportunities for them in the number of orders that they can take, because those partners are not really wanting individuals, just anybody to come and do that service for them. They want that certified individual. They want that type of delivery experience for their customer and their end user. So if we can deliver that for them, they're rewarded with more orders, which is more revenue for them. A byproduct of that is customer service satisfaction. When they deliver great experiences, customers sometimes tip the delivery professionals. Never a requirement, never asked for, right? But it is something that we have seen, and we've seen some pretty large tips, for those experiences, because the customers realize, I've never had an experience like that. And sometimes, we're a little bit grateful as human beings when something is really done well for us. We want to share that with them. And sometimes the only way to do that is monetarily.
Got it.
So,
got it. Okay, super cool. By the way, the questions just keep streaming in here, so we've got a bit of work to do. I'm going to try and be mindful when we do get to the Q&A section, excuse me, of time here. But let's just keep it moving so we can get to the Q&A faster. So Jim, it seems that almost every individual I've spoken with that's leveraging Northpass or working on their own learning program, what they seem to underscore is that it's incredibly difficult to get adoption of a learning program. So how's it been for you? How's it been for Pickup in terms of, getting your delivery professionals engaged?
Well, you're absolutely correct in the sense that setting up and starting a program is kind of difficult, right? It seems like a very daunting task, right? But the first thing I have to say is you have to start somewhere. Like for us, it lived in our heads, right? And it lived in multiple individuals' heads. And we had to bring it in and document it. And so that's the first step, right? But once you document it, you have to start sharing it. And it may not be in the proper format. It may not be 100% perfect, but at least you started, right? because at that point you have somewhere to go back to, you have somewhere to reference, and you have somewhere to kind of do that Q&A on your own, right? That quality control check and say, you know what, that didn't work out quite the way I planned. Let's make a modification. Let's change. And then once that's done, you really have to start looking at the learners themselves and understanding that not everyone learns the same way. I'm the kind of person that don't give me a book because I'm not a reader, right? But I'll visually pick up almost anything and I can learn that way. So visual is really good for me. Audio is another way, right? So by combining the documented printed with the visual and the audio, you can really get an experience that's good for and welcome to all learners. And so that's really what you need to strive for at the end, right? But don't worry if you're not there at the beginning. Start with whatever you have. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I've heard from folks, you know, for example, I spoke with the founding team around the HubSpot Academy. And that was one key point that they really underlined, which is basically you have to get started. Don't overthink it. Don't look at the HubSpot Academy and say, I had to boil the ocean. It's like, no, you got to start somewhere. So start small. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? So I think that's definitely sagely advice for all of our attendees today. But okay, continuing on. So what has been your biggest learning from launch to present day? It's been about 2 years, maybe a bit more. So what has been like essentially your biggest learning around the delivery of an online training program thus far?
All right. It's really been kind of what I just mentioned, that whole ability to start documenting it and then to start to add in the flavors, right? The video, the audio and implementations to it. Northpass offers a lot of opportunities and a lot of ways that we can bring content in. And you also have a lot of content for some industries that may already be pre-built that can help them get started, right? So for me, it's really understanding, or has been, what you have to offer, and then how I can utilize that information and tool the best I can for the team. The other thing that's been really great is the ability for implementation of your system into other platforms through integrations, through APIs, things like that. And those are things that we welcome, and we're encouraging our team to implement as well. And we're going to take to the next level as we continue the relationship and grow our learning platform.
Got it. Well, thank you for all of that, Jim. Really appreciate the level of detail you've provided today. But we're going to open up in the Q&A from the audience today. So folks, if you haven't already entered your questions, we've got quite a few. Make sure to use that Q&A function down below, and we'll try our best to address questions. But I'm also going to be mindful of time, so we may not get to everyone's questions. That being said, Jim is certainly on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You can certainly send either of us a message. But all right, so let me just parse through some of these questions. I think one thing we could quickly cover is just, let's see here. One second. So we were just talking a little bit about content not too long ago. And I got a question here from Chris, and it was just, how does Pickup develop content? Is it done in-house? Is it outsourced? How exactly has Pickup been doing content development?
The content creation for Pickup has been in-house, right? We've been developing our own content. The one thing that I can say is that we needed to develop it internally because there are so many different courses, and I'm sure we can all agree, right? The internet is not the best place to go and find everything you need, because there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 different ways and videos and things like that that will say, yeah, this is what you need to do. but it might not fit your business, right? So for us, it's developing the content ourselves. We take it from the delivery professionals in the field. We talk to them. We hear what they're having to say. We hear their questions, but also our experiences. So many of our managers in the field have been out there doing deliveries as well in the past. And so we take their experiences. And like I said, when we first started, most of it lived in our head. So it was a matter of just going back there, sitting down, and starting to write it out. As we continue to grow, we're going to need more input from other individuals on the team that have a direct connection to a specific part of that delivery process, and then we'll continue to develop.
Got it. And that great answer, by the way. I think just going to stay on that content beat here for a second, because I actually have another question. Mm-hmm. So what kind of content does Pickup use in its training program aside from videos?
Well, we do a lot of slideshow presentations because we do need a written document sometimes, or a written type of format. And the reason why I chose a slideshow over a Word document or an RTF document or something like that is because we can control the rate of movement through that slideshow. So sometimes you'll put something on there and somebody will look at it and then they'll move their eyes, they'll adjust, and they won't advance it. So we can actually auto advance these slideshows to keep them moving through the content and seeing what they need. But with slideshows, we can also add in a graphical interface as far as pictures, right? Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So if I can put pictures with a few bullet points, I can say a lot more than if I have 1,000 words, because people are not going to be engaged through 1,000 words. So we utilize that. The other thing that we can do is we can do touchscreen video. So we can do samples of, how do you actually use your app, and we can move them through the app where they're actually on the screen, hitting the buttons and actually engaged in that process. And so it's an intuitive video, and that is something that is really taking us to another level to get the good guys or the delivery professionals engaged in that process.
Got it. Okay, cool. And another good question here. So how often do you actually update content? I think everybody, content development is always a key struggle for folks, but it's also how often do you actually go about the process of keeping it fresh and keeping it up to date and relevant? So just curious, so how often do you update content?
Probably not as often as I need to, right? I'm going to say that, and I don't think that, and that's being honest, I don't think anybody will ever be able to update content as fast as they need to, right? Content's going to be one of those things that's reactionary for many of us in the industry. However, we need to make a conservative effort, right? For us, it's when we're noticing a certain behavior start to become a pattern, right? We're like, oh, wait a second, we really need to update this. We really need to make a change. So we'll go back and we'll start to change some content. Sometimes it's a matter of just putting it on the schedule, right? So that we know that every 6 months or every 12 months, we're going to have a review of a process that we send out to the team. Then we're going to want to provide some fresh pictures or fresh documents or something, just to make it a little different, to keep them engaged, right? To bring them back. So it's going to be different for everyone, but a cadence is better than no cadence. But we will never, I don't think that anybody will ever be able to say that they're at the right cadence every single time when it comes to content.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just going through my other set of questions here. from the audience. So what is the biggest issue that you come across with your delivery professionals when you're onboarding them?
Can you repeat that question again? I apologize.
Yeah, sure, no problem. It was just simply, what is the biggest issue you come across with delivery professionals when you're going through the onboarding process with them?
The biggest dilemma that we have, or issue that we would have, is the delay in the background check. So that's not a part of the learning environment, right? So unfortunately, because there is a delay in that, it allows us to be able to give them some more information, right, and let them understand who we are a little bit more in detail on the learning side. But we do a very extensive background check, and that's something that our partners are really gratified for, or real happy for, and so are our customers. And it also rolls into who that delivery professional is, right? When I talked about the guy next door, your friend, your family member, right? The one that's always engaged in helping, those individuals come out through that background check. And so, that I think is where we see the biggest hiccup, and that's usually more of a legal or a municipality issue, and not necessarily an issue or fault of any one of us on the onboarding team.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you. Okay, so here's another question from Hugo. So do you have recurring training for customer satisfaction to continually refresh the team or the delivery professionals on your team? And if so, how often do you do it?
Well, yes. So we do have content that we try to refresh fairly regularly. Like I said, we're looking for those patterns and behaviors, and then we start to identify the need to update certain parts of that content. One thing I didn't mention is that with the pickup certifications that we do and the certification programs, those are very linear. Those are like taking a classroom, a course where they have to go step by step, answer some quizzes, questions, and things like that to make sure that they understand the content. Our pickup best practices and our SOP, our partner-specific SOPs, are developed in a free-form format. So the idea is that they can come back and go to any part of that SOP or pickup best practice on their own demand. There's no linear format to it. They don't have to go to something first before they go to the next step. They can just go find what they're looking for. And that's where us adding in the details around trends that we see in the field, right? We can update that, and we send it out via mass email, via text, and we say, hey, there's an update to this pickup best practice or this specific SOP, and we get them to go back into it. We've also integrated it into our app right now, just with a hyperlink, right? It's not perfect, it's not great in the sense that it's not living in the app, but it gives them the ability to self-service right from their app. So whenever there's a question or concern, they can go do it. It is on our roadmap to integrate it right into the app, right? And so at that point, when they go and they start a delivery process, here's the order, here's the partner, here's the SOP, here's the pickup best practice. This is what you need to do.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is actually a question from Tatiana that's a bit coming from a different place. So just kind of, I guess, really kind of trying to understand optimization and kind of how Pickup's looking to improve its program. But what analytics do you or potentially your partners use the most when evaluating your learning programs?
We don't really have analytics that we go to our partners about with the learning program. Um, the one that I am most concerned about is the engagement, right? How many learners do I have engaged in a monthly basis? When I said I had between 300 and 600 engaged every month, that's important to me, right? Because that means that the field team out there, the delivery professionals, are self-servicing, right, for content, and they're coming back and they're answering their own questions sometimes in the field, right? It's not something that we're having to drive to them. And to me, that's the most important, right? I can have all the numbers I want as the onboarding of the process goes, but it's how many are engaging on a monthly basis that really helps me understand that the learning program is a success or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, okay, I think I've gone through all the questions. We're running up on time here, coming up to the top of the hour. So first off, I just want to say, Jim, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you coming aboard and just kind of giving our audience, a little bit of color, a little bit of understanding around how Pickup approaches its learning program, why customer satisfaction is so important, and how you guys are working through that every day with your delivery professionals and the greater Pickup team. But all that being said, I think we're good for today. We'll be sending this out to folks, whether they attended or didn't. And long story short, just want to say thank you again for your service to our country, Jim. We all really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, and it was a pleasure.
All right, great. Well, have a good day. Take care now.
Thanks, everyone.